This is TLV1.
TLV1 Radio.
Great mixture.
I like Tel Aviv.
This is still V1.
This is
Tel Aviv is a beautiful city.
Great city, great radio.
TLV1.
This is TLV1.
From the TLV1 studios in Tel Aviv, Israel, it's Louis Live! That's just me, Ari Louis. Good evening, everyone. I hope everyone is well. It's Tuesday night. That means it's Louis Live here on TLV1.fm. If you want to follow the station on Twitter, you can do so at TLV1.fm. We have a great show today. In about 10 minutes, we're going to have on Nevo. He represented Israel in the Olympics in swimming in 2008 and 2012. We'll have on Avi Trey, talk a little Israel football, Yehuda Kirschenbaum, much more. But we're going to get things started with Israel basketball, and our guest is the best in the business. He's from EuroBasketball, David Doobie Pick. Doobie, how you doing out there?
I'm all right. How are you doing?
Doing great. We're at the halfway point of Israel basketball for most teams, about 11 games for most teams. And before we get it,
third way
through. Before we talk about the surprising teams and first, third MVPs, all this kind of stuff, I want to get a breakdown of last night's game, Maccabi Tel Aviv versus Netanya. David Blue goes off. Our guy, David Blue, 21 points in 29 minutes. Talk about his performance, 4 for 5 from three-point range. So talk about David Blue in the ball game on Monday.
I think you summed it up right there.
Three-pointers.
Yeah, I mean, David Blue is one of the best sharpshooters outside of the NBA, and he displayed another great game, his full repertoire with three-pointers, fadeaway jumpers, spin moves. It was like, I mean, his whole arsenal was there, and he just played another overall good game for Maccabi. You have to mention their big guy, Sophocles Schwarzenidis, the Greek center, who came off a very, I'd say, poor first half to really help them secure the victory down the stretch. Maccabi were up double digits late in the game, and Netanya made a nice run at home. Has to be mentioned, they played with only 3 Americans. They recently signed former NBA veteran Antoine Wright, and they couldn't register him on time, so they only played with 3 Americans, and they managed to complete a comeback, but they couldn't really secure a win because David Blue and Sofo were in such great form.
All right, they were in great form. Guys not in the best of form from Maccabi Tel Aviv. Tyrese Rice, Devin Smith, they played combined 40 minutes, only scored 2 points. Is this an alarm for Maccabi Tel Aviv, or will they stick with them and try to see what they can get out of them later on?
Well, as of now, Maccabi's roster is as is. They tell me that they're not going to make any irrational acquisitions. Devin Smith hasn't been 100% healthy for a while. They try to give him as much rest as needed, but he also got into early foul trouble yesterday. He picked up 3 fouls in the first quarter, so that kind of hurt his mojo. Tyrese Rice isn't really fitting in with the team. It's very evident, and he just had another poor game yesterday. But again, I don't really think that his position is in much jeopardy. They're not really looking to bring in another guard like they really are leaning towards adding a big man because Sean James is experiencing major back issues. He hasn't played yesterday. He hasn't practiced today, and he's not traveling with the team to Greece tomorrow ahead of Thursday's game in the EuroLeague. And the expectations are for him to be out roughly 2 weeks with what they call, Maccabi call, a nerve pinch and back spasm, repeated back spasm, and it's something that is very intimidating for them because he already experienced this injury 2 years ago, and they are well aware that this may go on not just for 2 weeks, but probably 2 months, and then they may be forced to bring in a new big man. We're
speaking with David Doobie Pick from EuroBasket, and let's talk about Guy Panini because he had a great game a few weeks ago. It was talked about the Israelis need to play more, and then he only scores 3 points in 26 minutes. Is this Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde? Will he bounce back in the next game, or is he starting to decline, as many people think? What are your thoughts?
No, not at all. I really like Guy Panini. I like how he bounced back from a tough year and a half. He's really playing great lately. First time he's received captaincy of Maccabi after his Nazi slur last year, and after it was stripped away from him by the team. He's really coming to himself. His leadership skills are very, very important to this particular Maccabi team, and I know they highly appreciate him. And also, Yogev Ochayon, the point guard, one of the best in the business in Israel, had a great game yesterday with 15 points, and he nearly matched his career high in assists of 12, dishing out 11. So there's a lot of upside for Maccabi.
And last question about this game. The game, Maccabi won by 10 points. It looks like it's not that close, but when you look at the box score after the third quarter, Maccabi only up by 1. So did they turn this on, put the foot on the gas in the fourth quarter and take over, or was the game more in doubt than we realize?
Well, Maccabi gained early control. I think they were up 11-2 early in the first quarter, and they're experiencing what they call a repeated meltdown. I just got off the phone with Soho, and we talked about Thursday's game, and we really touched base on what happened last night. And he really couldn't explain how and why Maccabi always managed to develop a double-digit lead and then lose it sometime during the second half. So I'd say Maccabi had full control of the game within the first quarter, and after that it was really a seesaw of baskets. Netanya managed to pull within single digits and turn it around in the fourth quarter, but Maccabi and their depth were just too much.
All right, again, third away through the season, so in the last few minutes we have with you, let's talk about some of the surprise teams. Are you more surprised Ness Ziona has 7 wins, or more surprised Maccabi Tel Aviv has 4 losses?
That's a great question, Ari.
Thanks,
That's
man.
a great question, because this is, without a doubt, Maccabi's worst franchise start in Israeli basketball history. They never picked up 4 losses so early in the season. On the other hand, Ness Ziona, the newcomer from the minor leagues, have just such a terrific squad, and one that you really enjoy watching with so much athleticism and leadership. There was no team in the history of the Israeli league who came up from the second division and managed to finish number 1 seed within the first round, and they're really close to doing that. They have such a superb group of guys, from former UCLA and Sacramento Kings draftee Tyler Hanika, who puts on a show week in and week out with his athleticism and his dunks, and they have the former Israeli player of the decade, Meir Tapir, who at age 38 and a half just up the most minutes for Israeli player this season with 36 minutes per game. And they have so much in their arsenal. Diamond Simpson and Mitchell Watt and the shooter Preston Knowles, and they really have a lot going for them. And the sky's the limit for that team. Are they a championship contender? They're kind of short. Eventually the air will probably run out, but they're really having a great run. And for the sake of Israeli hoops, we hope it continues.
All right, and the first third of the season MVP, who does that go to in your opinion?
That's a really, really tough question. I'm really like Dante Smith from Maccabi Haifa. I think he's the best player in Israel for the past year and a half. I don't really see anyone who can stop him. I think Carlon Brown from Colorado, who plays for Hapoel Tel Aviv, is a nice pickup for them, and he leads the league in scoring. Honeycutt is really up there as well. There are a lot of guys who've been playing really well here, and it's kind of early to really figure out who the MVP will be.
All right, last question we have for you. You've said on this program before you like Maccabi Haifa to win the whole thing. Do you still feel that way now that we're a third through the season?
If you're recording, then let's take a bet. Let's make a bet. I'll say that Maccabi Haifa's current roster is not the roster that'll finish this season.
Okay.
All right. See some changes. I'm hearing of changes, and I like the team. They're a strong team. They're not better than they were last year, but they have more. They have more tools and weapons, and I still have them down for being in the Israeli League Finals. The question is, will they face Maccabi Tel Aviv or Hapoel Jerusalem, who are heavily entertaining bringing in another guard, another combo 1-2 creating shooting guard, who will complete that team?
All right, so Doobie, we have recorded December 17th, about 7:10, so we'll play that back for you later on, hopefully. Doobie, best of the business. Thanks for being on Louis Live, and we'll follow the season obviously throughout, and we'll have you on again. So thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Be well. David Dewey picked for EuroBasket, breaking down the first third of the Israel basketball season. We'll take a break. On the other side, two-time Olympian Gal Nevo. This is Louis Live on TLV1.
שמלאכים בורחים למעלה והשמיים יורדים אל הים ועם מלכת ההרים כבר שרה שוב הגענו לכאן, שוב הגענו לכאן 11 שנה של לילה 11 שנה בלי אור והמנגינה יקרה לה זה הזמן לחזור, זה הזמן לחזור עם הידיים פתוחות למעלה נשבעים לא לעזוב, לא 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 קבלו אותנו שוב הלילה מבטיחים סוף לא טוב, סוף לא טוב, לא 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 כשהאדמה נפתחה מתחתנו הזאבים עצמו לדם אבל היום תחזקו רגלינו נוריד את השמיים לכאן, את השמיים לכאן עם הידיים פתוחות למעלה נשבעים לא לעזוב, לא 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 קבלו אותנו שוב הלילה מבטיחים סוף לא טוב, סוף לא טוב, לא 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 עם יד על הלב כל פעם שאני פה זה פחות כואב עיניים אל האור עם יד על הלב כל פעם שאני פה זה פחות כואב עיניים אל האור עם יד על הלב כל פעם שאני פה זה פחות כואב עיניים אל האור עם יד על הלב כל פעם שאני פה זה פחות כואב עיניים אל האור עם יד על הלב כל פעם שאני פה זה פחות כואב עיניים אל האור עם יד על הלב כל פעם שאני פה זה פחות כואב עיניים אל האור עם יד על הלב כל פעם שאני פה זה פחות כואב עיניים אל האור עם יד על הלב כל פעם שאני פה זה פחות כואב עם הידיים פתוחות למעלה נשבעים לא לעזוב, לא 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 קבלו אותנו שוב הלילה מבטיחים סוף לא טוב עם הידיים פתוחות למעלה נשבעים לא לעזוב, לא 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 קבלו אותנו שוב הלילה מבטיחים סוף לא טוב, סוף לא טוב, לא לא לא
Back here on Louis Live on TLV1. If you want to follow the station on Twitter, that's at TLV1.fm. If you want to email me personally, that's arilouisshow@hotmail.com, ARILOUISSHOW@hotmail.com. Thanks to David Dewey Pick for EuroBasket for breaking down Israel basketball. We're now going to switch gears and talk some swimming. And, you know, I've interviewed a lot of famous people on the show. Brad Osmus, Dimitri Salita, Shlomo Weingrad, I mean, on and on and on. This next guest is one of the most famous people I've ever interviewed. He represented Israel in the Olympics in 2008 and 2012. Recently got, amazing this, in the European Short Course Championship, got a silver. It's a big pleasure to welcome Gal Nevo to Louis Live. Gal, how you doing out there?
Hi, I'm doing good.
So you were quoted in Haaretz saying, I almost thought at my age I couldn't do it. You're only 26 years old, but for a swimmer, I guess that's kind of up in age. How were you able to get this done, get the silver at the European Short Course Championship?
Yeah, actually swimming is kind of a young sport. And for a couple of years, I found it very hard to improve my best times. I tried all sorts of stuff, tried to work harder, tried to work different, and I really had a doubt that I could break my personal best again. But somehow it just got all together last week, and I made it. I don't know exactly how. I can't really explain it.
Now, a lot of times athletes at your level, this high professional level, when they get a silver, sometimes it's not good enough. They say, I could have gotten a gold had I done this, I'd done that. Did you analyze the race after you completed it and thought that you could have gotten the gold if you done a couple of little different things differently?
For me, overall, the race was pretty good. I kind of started the right way. The way I wanted to, but seeing that I lost the gold medal just in the 200s,
right?
You can find 200s in a lot of places in the 400 meters. So we didn't try to analyze it too much. It's about, even you can say, a little bit of luck. But overall, I was happy with the way I raced. You can't control your competitors, but I was happy with the time.
All right, now before we talk about your Olympics and that whole experience, which I'm sure is fantastic, we got to talk about your college teams because you swam for Georgia Tech and Arizona State. Arizona State is my alma mater, so I got to get your take on going to ASU. What was that like for you being Israeli, and ASU is known as a party school? How were you able to focus on your swimming?
I went there actually because of the swimming. I didn't know actually almost anything about American colleges. I just knew ASU was one of the top 20 programs in swimming in the NCAA, so that's why I went there in the first place. Actually, when you're an athlete, you don't kind of really experience the party school too much, but I had a good time there. But I just wanted to try something else and moved to Georgia Tech, where more Israelis studied there.
And you grew up, you were born on a kibbutz. Tell us about that experience, because a lot of athletes, they come from the bigger cities, and kibbutz is a different lifestyle, obviously. So tell us how that influenced you and affected you as an athlete.
I don't know how it influenced me. I know that's why I'm probably a swimmer, because I came from a kibbutz in Emek Bet Shean, which is a very, very hot place in the summer. So that's why probably I chose swimming on other sports, because I was just wasting my time in the pool in the summer all the time. So other than that, I don't know. I can't compare anything else, because that's where I came from, and that's the way I've been raised. I don't know.
We're speak with Gal Nevo here on Louis Live on TLV1. Let's talk about the Olympics experience. First, 2008, Beijing. You're 19 years old. You're on a platform where billions of people are watching. They plan this. Everyone wants to go to the Olympics. Everyone dreams about it, and everyone gets to do it. You got to do it. You started at 19. Tell us about the 2008 games.
The 2008 was a great experience for me. First of all, because I came in with actually no expectations at all, almost. I just had the breakthrough half a year before that, so I was kind of just getting there as the young swimmer that came out from nowhere and had almost no pressure and no expectations for me, just my own expectations for myself, and I was able to really enjoy it and surprise myself and kind of a lot of other people. With the performance, and I really had a good time.
Now, then a year after, you're in the Maccabi Games. They're hard to compare, but If you can compare, I mean, what's the difference? The Olympics, it's a world stage, but Maccabi, that's here at home. That's a Jewish thing. So compare the Olympic Games and the Maccabi Games.
You can't really compare the two things because I guess in the Olympic Games you have more competitiveness between the swimmers, between each other. Everyone wants to get the high ranking, obviously. And in the Maccabi Games, it's also about the competition, but it's more about, I think, the unity and the festival around it, and more about like Jewish people coming together to enjoy the sports they love and just have a good time and compete each other in a I don't know how to say, in good atmosphere.
Good atmosphere. There you go. We're speaking again with Gal Nevo here on Louis Live on TLV1. A few more minutes with Gal. Let's go now to the 2012 Olympics about a year and a half ago in London, and finished 10th. And that, I'm sure, was very inspirational for you. You're representing Israel on a world stage. You do very, very well. This time you're at the age of 23, and you have experience under your belt because you were in the earlier Olympics. So tell us about the 2012 games.
Well, the 2012 was kind of different because I came in not like in Beijing. I came in with more experience and more expectations, and the pressure was much, much higher. I set myself a goal to make the final, and that was what was expected for me, kind of. And the whole thing was much more intense for me. But I was close to make the final, didn't make it, but I don't know. It's hard to summarize this whole experience in a couple of sentences, but I'll just say it was very intense and very emotional and just kind of like a peak of a career.
And last question we have for you, I mean, you foreshadowed at peak of career. You've really done about as much as you could do in swimming. You've been in the Olympics twice, 1 gold in the Maccabi Games. You hold 3 Israeli records. What's next for Gal Nevo?
Just keep swimming until I enjoy it and until I can improve. The next thing this year is the European Long Course Championship in the summer. In late August in Berlin, and that's the next peak, you can say, and that's what we're working for.
All right, Gal, thank you so much for being on the show. It's always a pleasure to speak to such a classy athlete and someone who's been in the Olympics. And again, congratulations on the success in the European Short Course Championship. We'll be following your career, obviously, on this program, and all the best to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Be well. That was Gal Nevo here on Louis Live on TLV1. We'll take a short break. We'll have more on the other side. This is Louis Live on TLV1. back here on Louis Live on TLV1. A little Jimi Hendrix there for you. Of course, all this great music has been supplied by Tomer Gershman, who makes all the music for my show. So thank you to Tomer. And, of course, Lior Peleg is in the room with me producing, so thank you to Lior as well. We had a great show so far. Again, we talked Israeli basketball, talked Olympics. We're now going to switch gears and talk American football here in Israel with our next guest from the Ramat Sharon Hammers. Please give a warm Louis Live welcome to Avi Rosenblum. Avi, how you doing out there?
I'm doing good. How about yourself, Ari?
Doing great. So much to talk about. First, I want to know about Trey. Where did that nickname come from? Tell us about it.
Kind of friends of mine. I had a little, I guess you could say a little group, and, we all coming up with things to, talk about, and they just started calling me Trey, so it just sort of stuck with me. A lot of people call me it. My dad doesn't really approve of it, but yeah.
All right, fair enough. So we can just call you Avi in this program here. Now, your teammates can say what they want. Now, you have a story. You were born in El Paso, Texas, and then you moved to Oakland. So tell us about that move. What it was like growing up in Oakland, California?
Well, I lived there for about 7 years, and then we moved to Albany, California, which is about 3 cities over. It's about a 15-minute drive from there. Not even like 10 minutes. And I was born in El Paso, Jawan Battle. I was adopted at 12 days old to Ram and Debbie Rosenblum and Debbie Groudens. Living in Oakland, it's a hard place to live,
Yeah.
And I saw, the struggles of Oakland, and actually when I was about 6 years old, I found a heroin needle.
Wow.
Just out in next to my neighbor's house, and I had a friend who had diabetes, and so I started playing with it, and my mom found me. And, she called my dad and, said, it's time to move out of Oakland. So when I was about 6 years old, about 3 months into my first grade year, we moved to Albany, California, and I've lived there ever since.
Wow, what a story. A lot of times you see athletes that grow up in tough circumstances. It seems to help them on the field because after you go through something like that, playing football is not really so difficult, right?
No, it's not at all. I've seen a lot of stuff go on in Oakland, and it's a great town. There are parts of Oakland that is really good, but East Oakland and West Oakland, they have their problems, and it all has to do with who you know and who you associate yourself with. Happily, I moved to Albany, and I had a lot of great friends growing up, and they pushed me to be the best of what I can be. I've had great coaches, great people around me, my parents, of course, always pushing me to be the best. And, I've never really felt the, struggles of living in Oakland because I've always had great people around me. So, it's always been a good life for me.
Now, I understand that you have a mentor. Is that correct, Mr. Kenny Khan?
Yes, I do. Kenny Khan is also a black Jew. His mom is white. His dad is African American.
Okay.
He's the head coach at El Cerrito High. It's the high school, nearly not even a 5-minute walk from where I went to high school. He's a great man, he knows what he's talking about. He met me when I was about 7 years old. He was the counselor at a interracial organization, and since then, he's been cool. We lost touch for a while, and then about my junior year, we scrimmaged El Cerrito High, and he was like, he saw me and he was like, Avi Rosenblum, and I was like, yeah, yeah, and he was like, oh man, I remember you when you was little, and I really didn't recognize him at first, but then I talked to my parents and I realized who he was, and he's always told me, he's always followed with me, and he just, he loves to see that, another black Jew is, going ahead in sports and everything, and his team was just in the regional to go to state this past Saturday. Unfortunately, they lost. But, they had a great season. He's done an amazing job with the kids over at El Cerrito High. I actually had the honor of coaching with him before I left for Israel for about 3 months with the El Cerrito High program. And, I learned a lot from him, not only as a coach, but as a person also. And he's always told me, I told him, when I was moving to Israel, I said, is this something I should do? I went to him also for counsel and, talked to him about it. He said, you know what, don't worry about anything, go. Just do what you want to do. You love playing football, and that's what I want you to do, and go. No conflict whatsoever, no no bad feelings, vibes from him at all. He had the opportunity to go to Amsterdam and play, but he didn't take that opportunity. He went back to El Cedar High and started coaching, and he's turned that program around. I've had the fortune to play with or watch a couple of his players grow up, and I've always seen something special in the players, but he pushed them to the level where they needed to be able to go to college and strive not only on the field but in the classroom also.
We're speaking with Ari Rosenblum here on Louis Live on TLV1. Now, the mentor thing I find fascinating because Pirkei Avot says you got to find a rabbi and you got to learn from him, and mentor seem to really guide you. And not everybody has a mentor. So, how is that, you think, an advantage to you over other players, teammates that don't have mentors they can look up to?
I've always it's the fact of even if you have a bad game, the guy's going to be there and tell you the things that you did right, not the things that you did wrong, and not to dwell on them. And there's always another game. There's always another game. If you go out and drop 3 passes, the next pass is coming right to you. You miss a tackle, that guarantee 100% that the next play will come right to you. It's just like baseball. You miss a ground ball, and you're gonna get they're gonna hit a line drive at you, and you got to catch it.
There you go. Exactly. You get a second opportunity.
Exactly.
Now, a lot of people come to Israel for all types of reasons. What was your reason for coming to Israel?
The main reason, I wanted a year off from college, and I wanted to come to the homeland and really see what Judaism is about, and happily, the IFL, there's an IFL, so I was like, I never really knew there was football in Israel. I always knew there was baseball in Israel, but I didn't know there was American football,
Right.
When I tell people, I play football in Israel, they're like, what, soccer? I'm like, no, American football. And they have no idea what I'm talking about.
There you go, exactly. So you found out about the IFL while you were in Israel?
No, I found out about the IFL from a Tel Aviv Sabre named Jeremy Sable.
Of course.
Actually, and I was with the Sabres for a while, but, it wasn't a good fit for me.
Okay.
So, I went to the Ramada Show Hammers. I feel like a family, There's great guys on every level on the team, coaches to players, I've got, I'm one of the youngest guys on the team, so, I gotta, I don't have to prove myself, but at the same time, they're looking at me as a different person, because I'm younger, trying to teach me things.
Absolutely. And again, of course, got Dr. Keith Noble to teach you. He's a great teacher.
Great teacher.
And, of course, you have Adam Davis also.
Yeah, Adam Davis, he actually took me in for a couple weeks while I moved out of my cousin's looking for an apartment, have helped me out.
Oh, very nice.
Tremendously has helped me out, looking for apartments and stuff. I found an apartment, I'm 5 minutes away from him, Adam's a great guy. His wife, Sarah, is a great person, they're just great people to be around.
Now, this Friday, you guys have a big game against Tel Aviv Pioneers. We're going to have Coach Kirschenbaum on the other side of our break. So talk about this game Friday. You guys have not played a game yet because the game last week was canceled or delayed, what have you. So how excited you guys are to just chomp at the bit and get some football going on Friday?
Man, we're fired up. Everybody's hitting in practice. Everybody's, we're going through practice 100%, Everybody's full speed. Everything is click-clack. It's hitting every time, And, I don't think, the Pioneers and us have a very long history. It's a big rivalry game, It's sort of like the Yankees-Red Sox, and it's gonna be a shootout. But, we hopefully, we expect to come out on top.
You want to make a prediction on the show, give some bulletin board material, or no? You're not going to fall into that?
Man, if I could tell you, I haven't really seen the Pioneers play I saw them play one preseason game versus the Sabres, and they got a good athlete, but I think we got a couple more athletes. Jonathan Curran, the MVP from the Israel Bowl last year. Jordan Curran, his little brother, is actually coming out to play on Friday. We've got a great line. Defense is tremendous. Keith prepares us every day for what the Pioneers are going to throw at us. And so I'm not going to tell too much, but, we got something up our sleeve for them.
All right. Well, the game is this Friday, and it's at Tel Aviv University. So everyone out there, if you're around that area, go Friday. I believe 11 in the morning is the start. Is that correct?
10:30.
10:30. Okay, 10:30. So you can check out that game. It's two of the top teams in the IFL. They could play for an Israel Bowl. So if you're able to see the game, definitely check that out. Avi, great pleasure. We love hearing your story. Thank you for being on Louis Live, and good luck to you on Friday.
Thank you so much, and you guys have a great show. And I listen to it all the time.
Oh,
so,
thank you so much.
It's just a great show, and you're doing a great job.
Thank you. We're going to put that in a commercial, I think, right, Leor? We're going to do something like that. All right, Avi, be well. We'll speak with you soon.
All right, thank you. Yep.
All right. That was Avi Trey. We're going to take a musical interlude, and on the other side, the coach of the Tel Aviv Pioneers will be playing Avi's team, Yehuda Kirschenbaum. This is Louis Live on TLV1. Back here on Louis Live on TLV1, you just heard from Avi Trey Rosenblum, who's on Ramada Sharon Hammers. He'll be playing the Tel Aviv. His team will be playing the Tel Aviv Pioneers on Friday. And here now, the coach of the Tel Aviv Pioneers. We've had it on the show before. Great guest, Coach Yehuda Kirschenbaum. Coach, how you doing out there?
I'm doing great, Ari. How you doing?
Wonderful. You know, I tried to get Avi to jump at the bait, and he didn't bite, so he didn't give you any bullshit.
I heard.
Yeah, we knew you were listening, but he's smart, and he didn't wasn't suckered into that. Before we get into some of the intricacies of the game, if you will, and some of the things your team is doing, first I want you to talk about why this is such a big rivalry game for those that are new to the IFL between your team and the Ramada Sharon Hammers.
Most likely it has to do with the proximity of the two teams. The Hammers, since they've joined the league, have always felt that they don't get as much respect as they should, moving from Herzliya to Hatikva and now to Ramada Sharon the last couple of years. As a Tel Aviv team, as a regional team, and as the Tel Aviv Pioneers and the Sabres overshadow them a little bit, so I guess they have that chip on their shoulders, to prove that they, can compete, and they do. And last year they went, I think 9-1 or whatever.
8-2 technically, but I hear what you say. It's basically you have three teams in one area, and they're the third team, according to some people, and they want to try to prove themselves, and they're going to try to do so on Friday against your ball club.
Exactly.
Now let's talk about the game you had against Haifa, 48-26, good victory. Haifa is pretty good team. They were in the postseason a few years ago. And your running back, Isaac, 19 carries, 122 yards, 3 touchdowns. Talk about his role in the big victory against Haifa.
Well, earlier in the week, earlier in practice that week, we our running back, Ben Hadar, he injured himself. And Isaac, he came to us in the middle of the offseason, and I saw things from him that told me he was going to be a really good player, and we actually had to use him a lot in the Lightning tournament as the only running back, and I was very, very surprised and proud of what I saw after all the training we went through. And to me, it wasn't a surprise. Hopefully, to everybody else in the league, I'm sure they didn't expect something, a breakout game like that from him. But I'm really proud of him, especially formerly being a running back and running back coach. And that's like my pride is the running back group of the Pioneers. So, he's done really, really well for us, and he's going to continue to do well for us, I hope.
And, of course, you have a new fullback, Noam Dalal, who had 2 touchdowns. Talk about the role. Not every team has a fullback that's involved in the offense. You guys do, so talk about Noam.
Well, Noam this year, he transitioned from offensive line last year. He's the kind of player that you look at his metrics. He's tall, but he's not big. He's thin. He used to play O-line, and he would win battles on the offensive line based on his toughness and his desire to just beat the guy in front of him. So for me, it was a natural progression to say, hey, look, we need somebody to play fullback. You're the perfect guy for it. We need someone that can just run downhill, hit a guy in the mouth, and just move the pile and clear the way. And that was Noam. And he's actually been with the Pioneers for about 5 years now, and he's just a consummate professional. Semi-professional, whatever you want to call it. But he's exactly the attributes that are a Pioneer, and we actually honored him with a captaincy for this entire season.
Wow. So very special for Noam, get to be the captain of the ball club. Of course, speak with Coach Yehuda Kirschenbaum here on Lewis Live on TLV1. Got to talk about a soft cats coach because he's been with the Pioneers forever. I believe he was on the team that won the title a long time ago.
That's true. Yeah, he won the MVP that year.
And won the MVP that year. So he's still playing at a high level. Just talk about what he brings to the club and how the new guys can look up to him and be motivated, inspired.
Well, he brings, this ferocity and toughness that, every play, no matter what, he's going to bring 100%. And, he does things that you wouldn't expect from a player who plays on defense, who grew up in Israel, who didn't play football until he joined the IFL, to have the instincts that he has. But he just displays, some uncanny ability to find, the offensive player and just is aggressive at the point of attack and has instincts that, go far beyond his athletic ability.
Now, now we'll get to the game on Friday, and an interesting story is that you have a player, Tal Senior, who apparently used to play for the Hammers. Is that correct?
That's true. He was playing defensive line for them last year, and now is playing D-line for us this year.
So is that a little kind of juice into the rivalry now that you got one of their guys? Talk about that aspect.
I definitely think on a personal level for him, it's something for him because I don't know much about his football experience and how long he was with the Hammers, but he came to us because his good friend Koren Shemesh, who used to be on the Pioneers, transferred to the Hammers and now is back on the Pioneers. They're really good friends. They work out together, and he's actually budding for us, and he's in practice making a lot of plays, I got to tell you.
Now, the game against Haifa, was that in Haifa or was it Tel Aviv?
Tel Aviv.
Okay, so that game against Haifa, that was the first time that you played a meaningful game since the playoff loss to the Rebels. How much did it feel good to get a win back at your home field after the loss in the postseason?
Well, going through the tournament, going through the preseason game where we had to tie against the Sabres, there were definitely some doubters of the Pioneers and what we brought to the table this year. Overall, I think I saw on one of the IFL meme websites that we were favored only by 2 points, which was to us a little bit of a slap in the face, and we took it personally. And we came out and with a 20 scoring on the first play of the game, and just from there I'm not going to say we cruised. It was definitely a tough game from there on out, but we felt like we were in the driver's seat most of the game.
And do you feel that your team has a bit of an X on its back because of the Lightning tournament performance? Only you and the Rebels were undefeated. Is there a bit of a star on your back?
I definitely think that the Rebels' star or X and target is going to be bigger than ours based on the performance they played against the Lions the other couple of weeks ago.
The 83-20 game, whatever it was, yes.
So I definitely think, they're taking a little bit of the heat from us, but hopefully after this week against the Hammers, the two or the three top teams in the league are going to be facing off against each other, and whoever comes out on top will, definitely have a big target against their backs.
All right, the game is this Friday, 10:30, Tel Aviv University Stadium. Coach, Avi didn't want to make a prediction. Do you want to make a prediction?
I can predict that it's going to be a very tough game.
Okay.
It's going to be close, and I'm going to say that the Pioneers, we're going to come out on top. I mean, it's the home game for us. We are going to protect our house. We're going to come out fired. We've been practicing very, very hard, for the Hammers, as I'm sure as I heard from Avi, they are as well for us. But everyone's fired up for this game, and it's going to be a great weekend for the IFL. If I could just interject for a minute, I want to just announce that the Tel Aviv Pioneers secured a sponsor for our season. It came at the last minute for us, so I just want to show my appreciation. Is that okay?
Sure, absolutely. Go ahead.
All right, thank you. So I want to just say thank you to Yaakov and Elisheva Damtani of the Hotel Gilgal here in Tel Aviv, who are sponsoring the Tel Aviv Pioneers for the season. And we really appreciate it, and thank you very much.
Yeah, so if anyone is traveling to Tel Aviv Thursday night, you can stay at the hotel, then go to the university on Friday and watch the game, right, Coach?
Yes, exactly.
There you go. All right, Coach, good luck to you on Friday. We'll be in touch. Thank you so much for being on the program tonight.
Thanks a lot.
Be well. All right, guys, quick break. On the other side, Ben Myers to talk a little footy, Maccabi Tel Aviv style. This is Louis Live on TLV1.
זה משהו אחר. הביטו שם, מעבר לאחור. הנה באה בחורה. יש לה ציצי, משהו פצצה. אם היא לא תהיה שלי עד מחר. אמכור את סבתא למגר. חושבים על זה הרבה, אחר כך זה יוצא. הציצי הזה, משהו אחר.
All right, our thanks again to Coach Yehuda Kirschenbaum of the Tel Aviv Pioneers. Again, the game is this Friday, Tel Aviv Pioneers versus the Ramat Sharon Hammers. We're going to switch gears and talk football, not American football, but also known as soccer, with the weekend editor for www.ftppro.com and radio personality Ben Myers. Ben, how you doing out there?
I'm very well, thanks, Ari. How are you?
Doing wonderful. Maccabi Tel Aviv, they move into the Europa League's final 32. Let's talk about Maccabi Tel Aviv, how they did in the group stages.
Yeah, it was a good result. It was a very good result. Maccabi Tel Aviv are through. They beat a second-string Bordeaux team, beaten 1-0, so Harvey got a winner. But it was a good game. It was played in good spirits. There's nearly 12,000 in the crowd there. It was a good game, and it's important. The first time that Maccabi Tel Aviv have progressed to the knockout stages of a European competition, and it's exciting times.
Now, this was an interesting game because they basically just needed a draw, correct? So they played pretty cautiously?
Absolutely. But they played controlled. I mean, it wasn't a great Bordeaux side. They had nothing to play for anyway. But they did their job, and they did the job well.
All right, let's talk about some upcoming opponents for Maccabi Tel Aviv. Who are they looking at?
Well, this is the interesting part. I mean, they've been drawn against FC Basel from Switzerland, who were very unlucky to go out to Schalke in the Champions League, having qualified for the Champions League by knocking out Maccabi Tel Aviv.
back in July and August. Now, the interesting dimension to that as well is because I don't know if you remember, there was an Egyptian player, Mohamed Salah,
right?
A very talented winger on the books, certainly in the eyes of a few Premiership teams, including Liverpool, and he refused to shake hands with the Israeli players.
Right.
And so whether he's still there in February, because I think there's a good possibility he'll be sold on in January, will be another story. But it's certainly the return. We'll see what happens with him. But it's a good result. It's a good, not a bad draw. I mean, Basel are a good seasoned European team. They've got some good scouts. They beat Chelsea last season, and I think it's going to be very tough for Maccabi Tel Aviv. Very, very tough.
So there's a little juice to the story with that whole non-handshake situation. Aside from that, let's talk about, do they really have a chance, Ben Myers, in Europe?
Well, there certainly is a lot of juice in that situation. And why does everybody hate the juicer? But that's for another.
And
that's
that's
for
a whole
another
other show.
That's for another show. Realistically, my heart says, that this could be. They're playing well. They got a decent result of the weekend in the local derby against Hapoel Tel Aviv. Zahavi scored the winner there, and they're playing well this season. And the coach Paulo Sousa, one-time QPR manager, or very briefly anyway, he's doing a good job there. But I think with the pedigree of FC Basel, depending if they sell on, they've got a Chilean player Diaz there as well. They've got the Degan brothers. They've got a decent squad there, and certainly as it stands at the moment, they've got enough to beat Maccabi Tel Aviv. But Maccabi Tel Aviv, they only lost 1-0 against them back in July, and they drew 3-3 in quite a thrilling game at home. And they have got a chance, but my head says Basel are going to sneak through.
We're speaking with Ben Myers, who's the weekend editor for www.ftbpro.com. Now, we've had you on, last time was a few months ago. We were following Yossi Benayoun for months of where he's going to go, Premier League, and what team is going to end up, or is he going to retire, up in age, and so on. And he ends up with Queens Park Rangers and gets a great deal. Talk about that.
Yeah, it was interesting. When we last spoke about him, it was really unsure about what was going on. No clubs were going in for him. I think the clubs that he was aiming for were very tentative about spending a lot of money on someone that hasn't really come back from quite a bad injury a couple of years ago. But he's signed with QPR, but it's taken a long while. I mean, it'll be interesting to see whether. We're nearly up to the January transfer window. He's secured a place at Queen's Park Rangers. They're in the top 2 in the Championship, managed by Harry Redknapp, who's my team, Tottenham's ex-manager. And they're doing okay. They're not playing as free-flowing football as you'd expect under a Harry Redknapp team. And I think that's why they brought in Benayoun, because he has got that ability he's got the key to unlock games. He can play that killer pass. And that's been lacking in the Championship, in QPR's Championship so far this season. But he's signed there to the end of the season, so he's got a chance. He's got a chance to prove himself.
Queens Park Rangers are notoriously known for overpaying players, and Yossi Benayoun, I believe, got about approximately 160,000 shekels a week, something like that. Did they overpay here again for the 30-plus-year-old player?
Well, there's a lot at stake. If you go up to the Premiership from the Championship, certainly if it's in the playoff final, it's the richest single game in Europe, or certainly in the world, because from going up to the Championship to the Premiership, you're looking at an extra in shekels. We're talking about nearly 400 million shekels just to go up into the Premiership, and so it's. The prize is great, and a lot of teams get in trouble overstretching. QPR, they spent they were paying Christopher Samba, who they bought for half a season. They were paying him like it was 160,000, so nearly 1 million shekels a week, and so they've got the money to do it. But it all depends on them going up. If they don't go up this season, but I think they will. But if they don't, then then they're going to be in a lot of trouble. But the fact that he's only on till the end of the season, it's in his hands really whether he can do enough to warrant getting another contract if they go up.
Now, last question we have for you, Ben. When we had you on a few months ago, at the time there was not one Israeli player in the Premier League. Now Yossi's been signed. Still, what's the state of Israel football in your opinion?
it still needs a dramatic overhaul from the Israelis are still doing okay in the lower teams in Belgium, in Spain, some in Austria, in Scotland, but they're not making the Italian, the Spanish, and the English top teams. And I think that the players that like Ben Ayouni's 33 now. Some of the more like traditional internationals, they've had their time in the Premiership and their careers more into the autumnal part of their playing days. But they need to get some of the youngsters like Celine. They're still not doing it, and so there needs to be some good cohesive youth policy over changes in Israeli football, and they need to start bringing through some good players. But they've always had a tradition of bringing through one or two very good players. But they just need to make it at least 3 or 4.
All right. Well said. Ben Myers, thank you so much for being on Lewis Live on TLV1. We will be in touch. Enjoy.
Absolute pleasure. Take care.
All right, folks, that's the end of our program. I want to thank everyone for coming on. We start off the show with David Dewey picked from EuroBasket saying that Maccabi Tel Aviv's David Blue had a great game against Netanya, and that's why they were able to pull out the 9-point victory. We then spoke with Gal Nevo, who represented Israel in the Olympics in 2008 and 2012. Most recently, the 26-year-old swimmer took silver at the European Short Course Championship. We then spoke with Avi Rosenblum about his big game, his team, Ramat Sharon Hammers, taking on the Tel Aviv Pioneers on Friday. Didn't want to make a prediction, as well as Coach Yehuda Kirschenbaum, the coach of the Pioneers, also didn't take bait and didn't make a prediction. That game Friday, Tel Aviv University Stadium at 10:30. And we wrapped the show up with Ben Myers talking about Yossi Ben-Anud signing with Queens Park Rangers. Thanks again to Lior Peleg and Tomer Gersherman. And as always, that's it for tonight. God bless and good night.